All right, so today we are talking about the 7 habits of highly effective people and how this relates to coronavirus, the current coronavirus crisis that's going on. One of the main things that I live by in this book is the quadrants. It's called the time management matrix. All right, so imagine now you've drawn this matrix and you have, and we'll call this quadrant 1, where we have important and urgent stuff. So think of this as your to-do list. So your important urgent stuff is like processing emails, going through your day-to-day checklist, calling back people, putting out fires. It's just your day-to-day stuff that you have to handle, and it's important. You have to get it done. And then your important but not urgent stuff is like your bigger goals, like maybe write your book, record your album, just kind of bigger monumental goals, like maybe redesigning your company's website, switching to a new order management system, stuff that you need to do that'll really move the needle forward in your life or in your business, but it doesn't have a time frame really attached to it. And then down here in quadrant 3, you have your stuff that's not important, but it's urgent. So an example of that might be like, let's say there's a big game coming on tonight and you want to watch it real time because you don't want to be out of the loop. You want to see it actually happening now. Well, I would argue that's not really important. Is that really going to move things forward in your life or in your business? You're watching a game. Yeah, it's fun, but it's not really important. Or even catching a movie on opening weekend because you don't want to read the spoilers on social media. Well, that's not really important. Again, it's fun, but it's urgent because it is time bound, but it's urgent and it's not important. So that's quadrant 3. And then quadrant 4 is your stuff that is not important and it's not urgent. So that's your someday stuff that you maybe want to get to just because it's fun. Like for me, for example, people keep telling me I need to catch up and watch Game of Thrones. So, maybe one day I'll sit down and actually binge watch Game of Thrones or catch up on Power or some of these other shows that I haven't had time to catch up on. It's not really important. Yeah, I would get some enjoyment out of that. I might even learn some stuff from the shows, but it's not important and it's not time bound because I can do it at any time. So what do the most highly effective people do? Going back to this book, and why are we talking about it now amidst this coronavirus stuff? Well, the most important quadrant that you have is actually quadrant 2. I'm just going to call this Q2. So again, that's your big goals like writing your book. Let's say you want to, redo website. Like major business changes, things like that. Developing software to run your business better. So that type of stuff is in quadrant 2. Now in quadrant 1, like most people spend their time in quadrant 1, and see what happens is you're doing your day-to-day stuff like email, calls, meetings, and it's all time sensitive stuff. You spend your day over here and you keep saying, oh, I'm going to get to this, but you never get to quadrant 2 because you're stuck in quadrant 1. Or you exhaust yourself in quadrant 1 and then you just want to do a mind-numbing activity like in quadrant 3, watch the game or the newest episode of your favorite TV show. Or you might want to jump into quadrant 4. Maybe quadrant 4 is like, catching up on an old video game, just doing something mindless, just to take your mind off of things. So you exhaust yourself from quadrant 1 activities, and then you jump down to quadrant 3 and quadrant 4. You're never getting to this right here. But see, quadrant 2 is where the most highly effective people spend their time. It's when you get this stuff done that actually moves the needle forward. Working on a new talk, putting something out there in the world that's going to move the needle forward, push you closer to your goals, and really make the difference. That's where the magic happens. It's in quadrant 2. Now, so here's the magic. And why we're talking about this today is because I would argue that, so we have this coronavirus thing going on right now, right? And, it's scary. Nobody knows what's going to happen or how long this is going to take. So I found myself like scrolling through social media more than ever. And I know a lot of other people have said the same thing. But that is a huge waste of time. It feels like it's important, but at the end of the day, whatever happens is going to happen. And if there's some big move that you need to make, you're going to hear about it. Your friends, your family, somebody's going to tell you, hey, you need to stay in your house. It's against the law to go outside, or whatever might happen. You're going to hear about it. But we're scared, so we keep flipping through social media, hoping to get some bits of knowledge, and we're reading other people's stories, and we're getting emotionally drained, and it's bringing us down. And before we know it, we're not being productive. We're not getting stuff done in quadrant 2 at all, because we're spending time over here in quadrant 3 and quadrant 1, because again, we still have to carry on day-to-day stuff. But then I would put coronavirus in quadrant 3, because I don't think it's important. So what I mean when I say it's not important, I'm saying you're going to find out about the important stuff. It's just a time waster. It is drama to just scroll through social media for hours and hours, reading the latest thing. Half of it is like rumor, and it's just trying to sway you one way or the other. It's trying to bash somebody politically or trying to make you scared. The media taints so much. You will find out if some important degree comes down, you're going to know about it. Don't worry about it. So, and I'm telling you this because I'm guilty of it myself. And, I'm making a habit to just put the phone away, not look at social media, not participate in these chat groups when everybody's like, what's going on, and just focus on quadrant 1, quadrant 2. Now, this is a great time to focus on quadrant 2. So how do you do this? Because you can't write a book in one day. You can't finish your novel. You can't produce an album, whatever it is that's your big goal in life that's on your quadrant 2. You can't I guess you can do a website in one day, but how do you chunk it down? Okay, so my secret to getting the quadrant 2 stuff done is you need to look at everything in quadrant 2, and quadrant 1 and eat it, EAT. You look at this thing, you say, can I eliminate it? Because if you really ponder on some things, you probably don't need to do them. You can just not do it and things will be the same. Or automate it. So there's lots of software out today that can help you automate all kinds of tasks. We use Zapier in our business to send automatic emails. We have triggers set up from Gmail to when we flag an email a certain way, it automatically fires off an email to a customer. We have it set up to where it automatically posts stuff on social media. We use IFTTT, if this then that. We use Meet Edgar. Meet Edgar lets you store social media posts in a library, and then it automatically sends them out randomly throughout the day. You can even categorize them like funny posts, motivational posts, sales posts, and so forth. There's so many ways to automate things. We use Hootsuite to schedule social media posts. We use Infusionsoft, and this is huge. It's pretty advanced, but Infusionsoft, we set up drip campaigns so that when somebody joins our email list, they automatically get an email like every other day, announcing a sequence of events. And they think that we're sending out all these emails, but it's already just set up. They're just put into a funnel. So spend time automating. You can get a lot of stuff done off of your quadrant 2 stuff. And then the last thing is train. Train someone else to do it. So that's it. Eat. Eliminate it, automate it, or train someone else to do it. And notice I didn't say delegate, because the problem that we run into with delegation, and I'm guilty of this too, we just hand it off to somebody and say, here, do this. and we don't give them thorough enough instructions on what to do, and then we get frustrated when they don't do it right. And you're like, well, dang, I could have just done it myself. So don't even think about delegating. Think about train someone else to do it. And develop a manual, develop, we use Trainual. You can have a Google Doc, just make it a step-by-step process that you can train someone else to do the task at hand. Now, of course, there's some things where you can't eliminate it, you can't automate it, you can't train anyone else to do it. You need to do it yourself. Like maybe you want to write your book yourself. Now, you can delegate that to someone else. You can hire like a ghostwriting service, or they have like these call up, I forget what it's called, like Book in a Box or something, where you can just dictate your book over the phone to someone and then they write it. But let's say you actually need to do it yourself. Like let's say you're composing an album, or you're doing a painting or a series of paintings or something, and you're the artist. You actually need to physically do this thing yourself. So the secret to getting that quadrant 2 stuff done that you need to do yourself is to chunk it down. So let's take the example of writing your book. We'll take that and chunk it down into chunks that you can do in one day. Have you heard the saying, well, how do you eat an elephant? The answer is one bite at a time. So how do you take a book and break that down into one bite at a time? Well, maybe you can write one chapter a day. A chapter can be very, very short. So if you say chapter 1, chapter 2, and so forth, chapter 3. And then take the chapter and put that over in quadrant 1, put it on your calendar, treat it as an urgent task for that day. In fact, do it first. Just sit down with one thought, write out one chapter of your book. It might be 3 pages, or break it down into however, maybe you can break it down into 1 page if writing a whole chapter isn't a bite-sized enough chunk for you. But you take those big quadrant 2 tasks, you chunk them down, and you move one chunk over into your quadrant 1 activities. Put it on your to-do list, make it part of your schedule for the day, put it on your calendar, get that little chunk done. And if you just slowly move these chunks over to quadrant 1, then you're gonna do more stuff that's in your quadrant 2 side, and you will be a much more effective person. You will accomplish way more in life. So another thing about staying in quadrant 2 is that you feel more energized. Think about how you feel when you're actually getting something done that's on your big to-do list. Like if you get a chapter written in your book, or a song recorded, even if you just lay like the beat of a song or something, you feel so much better than when you're just doing the day-to-day humdrum work activities, the whirlwind, the same old stuff you're always doing. When you're in quadrant 1 doing those same things, you just feel like a hamster on a wheel. So make sure you always get a piece of that quadrant 2 and put it into your day and get it done with the rest of your stuff so that you feel accomplished, like you're moving forward. And as far as the quadrant 3, quadrant 4 stuff, just try to stay away from it. Now, sometimes you need a mindless escape. I get it. You don't want to always be focused on work and business, and you just need to relax and do something mind-numbing. Well, I would suggest just schedule that, even if it's just 30 minutes at the end of the day. Like, for example, I like to watch shows on Netflix, like just to help me sleep, because it's taking my mind off of the day. So I'll fall asleep. I might watch Netflix for 30 minutes, and that'll help me fall asleep. Well, that's quadrant 4 stuff. So it's okay to do this stuff. It's not bad to be in quadrant 3 and quadrant 4, but if you spend most of your time there, then you're not really going to be as effective as you want to be in life. So pick up this book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. If you have not read this, you need to own this. You need to read it multiple times. You need to flip through it. You should have it marked up, memorized, dog-eared. Like, this is one of those books that you just have to own. If you call yourself craving any type of success, this needs to be on your bookshelf. It needs to be in your brain. You need to internalize it. You need to live by it. So pick that up. I'll put a link in the notes below. This is Ethan signing out, and I'll see you on the next video.